Om Prapannaparijataya Totravetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha. Pranams everyone. We are in chapter 5, Sloka number 25. Shri Bhagavān Uvacha Labhante Brahma Nirvānam Rishaya Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ Chinnadvaita yatatmanaha sarvabhuta hite rataha labhante brahma nirvānam rishaya kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ chinnadvaita yatatmanaha sarvabhuta hite rataha. So Bhagavan in this section, between Sloka 24, 25 and 26, these three slokas, Bhagavan is talking about Jñāna Phalam. Previously, in the previous three slokas, Bhagavan had talked about Vairagya. Now he is talking about Jñāna Phalam. And in Sloka number 24, Bhagavan gave the Lakṣaṇa of an Atma Jñānī. He gave the Lakṣaṇa as Antar Sukaha, Anta Sukaha, Antar Ārāmaha, and then Antar Jyotihi. Anta Sukaha means he is actually contented. He is completely contented. There is nothing for him to be, there is no source of joy that he seeks from external objects or people. He doesn't seek any external joy. And then Antar Ārāmaha means there is no need for any external recreation for him. He is able to revel within himself. Then Antar Jyotihi means there are no expectations from, no attachments, no expectations from any external objects. He is completely detached, self-dependent. And then Bhagavan said, Sa yogi Brahma Nirvānam. That sort of a yogi, he attains Brahma Nirvānam in the sense, after the fall of the body, he attains Brahma Swarupa. Brahma Nirvānam adhigacchati. And while living, he is Brahma Bhutaha. He is basically, he understands he is Brahman. Now in Sloka number 25, in this Sloka, Bhagavan gives Jñāna Phalam again. But this time what he does is, in this sloka, he lists out the steps that a person would have to take to attain this benefit. So basically Bhagavan has summarized the sādhanas that a sadhaka must go through to attain the benefit of jnana. Of course, in this sloka, Bhagavan has not highlighted all the sadhanas. Certain sadhanas has been highlighted, but we can take this sloka to be a condensed version of the entire Vedanta. So entire Vedanta into this sloka. So here, the sadhanas that a sadhaka must go through to attain moksha, they are listed here. But they are not listed in the order. The words are jumbled. We will reorder them. So labhante brahma nirvānam rishaya kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ chinnadvaita yatatmanaha sarvabhuta hite rataha. So first sadhana that we have to take is the last word from the first line, Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ. Kalmaṣāḥ means impurities or papas. Papas are our impurities. Kṣīṇaha means free from. So Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ means free from impurities, free from papas. So this refers to the sadhaka. The sadhaka is free from papas. So which means the sadhaka must first remove their sins, their papas. And what is a papa here? Papa refers to any rāga dveṣa. What causes a jiva to perform pāpa? It is only rāga dveṣa. So this attachment and aversion is what needs to be removed, because they are the cause for our papas. And why should the papas be removed? Because papas act as obstacles to our spiritual progress. As long as we continue to do papas, it is very difficult to move up the spiritual ladder. And that is why if you see in any of the Mahans' life, they would have performed a severe penance in the beginning of their spiritual life. They would have gone to caves, they would have actually stayed alone, they have meditated for a long period of time, they would have gone for a pada yatra, they would have had severe restrictions of food on themselves, they would have taken enormous pains. They would have done a lot of tapas. And only because of that tapas, they have turned themselves into Mahans, or they have become Mahans. And what is this tapas for? What purpose does this tapas serve? This tapas is for Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, to remove papas, to remove sins. And what is tapas? Tapas means what? Tapas means taking on pain. As we take on more and more pain, our papas will get removed. So the way the Jñānīs look at the world, or even for that matter a seeker, not necessarily even a Jñānī, even a seeker, the way they should look at the world is accept whatever is given. So a seeker, with any kind of pain or a sorrow that they get from the world, they take it as Ishvara's way of removing their sins. Even in one of the Tamil songs, we have Thunba Pudathilittu Thuyavanaki Vaithai. Only pain can cleanse our mind. Only sorrows can actually cleanse our mind if we use the sorrow properly, if we understand sorrow properly. And these seekers, Tīvra Mumukshus, whatever pain and sorrow they get, they take it as Ishvara's way or help in terms of removing their papas. If they do not get pain or sorrow, they will voluntarily take up. Not sorrow, but pain they will voluntarily take up. And that is called as tapas. They do tapas, they go for yatras, they meditate for a long period of time, they have severe restrictions on the kind of food that they can eat, or when they can eat, or how many times they can eat. So they do all these kind of tapas. And as far as us, what should we should do tapas, but tapas is just one form of karma yoga. Yajna, dana, tapas. We have to perform yajna, dana, tapas. Dana is basically charity, sharing with others. It can be annadanam, it can be any kind of dhanam, shramadhanam, any dhanam. And then panchamaha yajnas and tapas. Tapas means, to start with, at least doing some daily pujas and making sure that you don't eat before you do certain things, that kind of tapas. By doing so, what will happen is, we will be able to remove this rāga dveṣa, or basically papas. And this is the first step that is called out here, Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ. Then the next stage that Bhagavān calls out here is the state that they attain, the state that the Jñānī attains, the state that the next stage is Rishayah. In the same line, before Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, we have Rishayah. Rishayah Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ. They become rishis. Rishis are those who have been able to remove themselves of their sins, papas. This is the second stage. When we say rishis here, we have to understand that they are the people who are able to grasp subtle concepts. Sukshma tattva darshinaha. Subtle concepts could be understood by them. They are called as rishis. See, whenever we examine anything at a superficial level, we will get some knowledge. But when we examine the same thing deeply, we will get a different understanding. For example, just sitting here, we think that the earth is stationary. Earth seems to be stationary. That is at the superficial level. But then when we study further, we understand, we look at all other planets the way they are, and then you will be able to kind of deduce, if you do deep analysis, you will be able to deduce that actually the earth is rotating and revolving. Similarly, what can give us comfort and joy in this world? It seems to be like, if I'm being street smart, if I'm not being truthful, if I'm not being honest, if I'm not being straightforward, I can easily get the comfort and the joy that the world can offer. It seems so. At least that is what some people think. That if you are actually dishonest, if you are not straightforward, if you are not being truthful, if you are street smart, you will be able to get rich, get wealthy, get comfort, get joy and stuff like that. But the reality is not so. This is what Maya gives us, this perception. The reality is only dharma, only being truthful, only dhanam, that alone will give us happiness. But this is only if we study, if we understand the world deeply enough. And we have to understand, most of the times the truth is not evident. Truth is always hidden. And rishis are those who are able to see the hidden truth. And that's why they are called as rishis. And when can a person be able to see the hidden truth? Not when the mind is full of kalmaṣa. Only when the mind is free from papas. Only then this truth becomes evident. Only then that the person gets the knowledge of the truth. And here the rishayaha, they get the knowledge on that which is eternal. So they are rishayaha. So this is the second stage. So Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, rishayaha. Now, how do they attain this knowledge? To become rishayaha, what do they need to know? This is also important. One cannot gain knowledge by simply closing the eyes and meditating. To get knowledge, one must study, listen. So by listening and studying Shastras, Veda and Vedanta, that teach this truth, only through Shravanam will they be able to attain, or will any person be able to attain knowledge. And Atma Tattva is so subtle. The knowledge is not easy to grasp. For that also one must study. Just by meditating or by doing tapas alone, one will not be able to get this knowledge. And what is that knowledge that they have to get? Or what is the knowledge that we have to get? What is the eternal truth? Brahma Satyam. Atma alone is there. Jagat Mithya. This entire Anatma is all Mithya. Now this is the second stage. Now to the third stage. third stage, it's not in the first line. Labante Brahma Nirvanam, Rishaya Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, it is not there. You got Chinna Dvaida Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. We will go to Chinna Dvaida. Chinna Dvaida means, Chinna means cut. To cut it. And then Dvaida means Samshaya, doubts. So Chinna Dvaida means whose doubts are dispelled, whose doubts are cut, whose doubts are dispelled. So it means the rishis, they have not only gained the knowledge, they have this knowledge that they have gained is without any doubt. And this too is an important stage. See, at times we may be suffering from ignorance, but then there are at times where we know the truth, but we may not have conviction. Even for many, there could be even the conviction could not be there on dharma, that if I am actually leading a life of dharma, I will be happy. That conviction may not be there in many people. So we may have doubts, and that sort of knowledge is also not useful. So ajñāna, ignorance, does not help, nor does this knowledge with doubts, that also will not help. So let's take an example. Suppose if you have to catch a train in the morning, we have to catch a train in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, we get ready, and then suddenly somebody comes and tells us that the train has been rescheduled. The train has been rescheduled to, say, from instead of 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we are not sure. Neither this knowledge is helpful, nor the original knowledge, and not this doubtful. Now this knowledge has become doubtful. We know that the train is going to leave, but whether it is at 2 or 4, we don't know. So we have this doubtful knowledge is not helpful. So we will be restless until we are able to confirm and clarify what time the train leaves correctly. Similarly, any kind of doubtful knowledge is not helpful in real life. And same thing with Atma Tattva also, same thing with Shastras also. Unless we have conviction, that Shastra's knowledge will not help us. One more thing is, doubts cannot come before the knowledge is attained. Only after we attain the knowledge, doubts can come. So this is important. So unless we study, we will not get doubts. Unless we listen to Shastras, we will not get any doubts. So it is important that we first study or listen, and then we get these doubts, and then we clarify these doubts. See, for us Vedantic students, before we come to this path, we would not have any doubts at all. We would have been blissfully ignorant on so many things, including whom we are, who is Ishvara, what is the purpose of life, everything. We have been blissfully ignorant of that. They say ignorance is bliss also. So it was very nice. We didn't have any problems in life, supposedly. But then once we start studying Shastras, what happens? The mind will not be calm, because we will get a lot of doubts. Why this? How this? Is it really this way? What about that? And also because we are learning new terms, new concepts, new truths. So there will be doubts. And here Bhagavān talks about the stage where this seeker has dispelled all doubts. And that stage is attained through a sadhana called mananam. So that is the third stage, Chinna Dvaita. So first stage is Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, which is basically doing yajna dana tapas to to free ourselves from all papas, to free ourselves from rāga dveṣa. Then rishayaha, which is basically getting the knowledge through shravanam. Then chinnadvaida, removing all doubts through mananam. Now the fourth stage. See, even after attaining this doubtless knowledge, so to speak, we will have this viparita bhavana. We tend to make the mistakes because of habit. And in this case of Atma Jnana, we will say that I know I am Atma, I have understood it, I have no doubts about it, I have clear understanding that I am the Atma and I am not this body and mind. But what happens, because of habitual tendencies, sometimes our abhimana, our identification would go back to this body and mind. So that stage, that is called as viparita bhavana. Then we have to remove this viparita bhavana. We have to ensure that we don't keep committing this mistake. And to overcome this mistake, one must do nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is a sadhana. In the next chapter, Bhagavān is going to talk about nididhyasana only mainly. Chapter 6 is full of dhyana yoga or atma samyama yoga, which is primarily talking about nididhyasana. What is nididhyasana? Basically the stage of complete assimilation. Once I assimilate that knowledge, I will be established in that knowledge. I will have no doubts. I will have no habitual tendencies to go back also. And that stage is referred by Bhagavān here in using two words, yatatmanaha sarvabhuta hite rataha. Yatatmanaha means who are self-restrained. Yata atmanaha, who are self-conquered, self-disciplined. And here Atma means the body, mind, sense organs, that they have been able to control that. Yatatmanaha, discipline that. So which means the body, mind and sense controls are in his control, sense organs. So the mind will obey whatever the seeker says, the person says. So if the intellect says to the mind, think about this, it will think. If the intellect says to the mind, stop thinking about it, it will stop thinking. And to reach that stage is not easy. But here Bhagavān says they have attained that stage. And Bhagavān has not given a list of sādhanas that they have performed to achieve this stage. Bhagavān has given basically stages, we can say. Bhagavān did not give this sādhanas to be done to attain the stage of Rishi, for example. Shravanam had to be performed there. Now nididhyasanam with this stage. Similarly, for Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, Bhagavān did not give any sadhana. We have to know the sadhana is yajna, dana, tapas or karma yoga. Then Bhagavān is giving an important dharma that a person must follow after attaining jnana nishta. So yatatmanaha, he has got his self under control. Now for this jnani who has attained this atmanishta, Bhagavān says there is an important dharma that this person must follow. And jnani's dharma, the primary dharma for a jnani is ahimsa paramo dharma, ahimsa dharma. The important thing to note here is that we should not harm any other jiva rasi, either bodily or by speech or even by mind. And we should dedicate our lives for the well-being of others. There is one Subhashitam, I don't remember. Paropakaram idagum shariram. They say the body has been given to only do help. Body has been given only for the purpose of serving others. So here Bhagavan says Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Rataha means being happy. Rataha. And then Sarva Bhuta means of all beings. Of all beings. What is of all beings? Hite. Hite means in the happiness, in the welfare. So being happy in the welfare of all beings, or they are happy or interested in the welfare of all beings. That is known as Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Shankara Bhagavad, he gives a small short meaning for this Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. He says Ahimsakaha. Ahimsakaha means they will follow ahimsa. They follow ahimsa. In other words, they cannot do harm to any other beings. But for us, we hurt people either on purpose or inadvertently. And most of the times we want to hurt them on purpose. And if someone hurts us, we want to hurt them back. Suppose if we tell somebody that, okay, if they have hurt you, what should I do? If you can be silent, you be silent. It's not possible. People get angry. Because they want to, even if they are asking for some advice from somebody, they want basically a confirmation bias to say, look, you have to hurt them back. Because you have been hurt, you have to hurt them back. So Bhagavan says that these people will attain the final stage of ahimsakaha, sarva bhuta hite rataha. They are happy, they are interested in the welfare of sarva bhuta, not only special people or people known to them. They are interested in the welfare of all beings, not just humans, all jantus, all jivarasis. And for a person who has gone through these stages, what do they attain? What are the stages? Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, Rishayah, Chinnadvaida, Yadatmanaha, Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. What do they attain? That Bhagavan has given in the first two words of the first line. He said, Labante Brahma Nirvanam. Labante means attain. Attain what? Brahma Nirvanam. They attain oneness with Brahman. They attain moksha. So these people, by leading a life and by going through these stages, performing the sādhanas that are required to go through these stages, they attain moksha. Kṣīṇa-Kalmaṣāḥ, removal of pāpa, basically through karma yoga or yajna dana tapas. Then Rishayah means becoming a rishi through Shravanam. Then Chinnadvaida means removal of all doubts through Mananam. Then Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha, basically overcoming this Viparita Bhavana and living a life of ahimsa. And then for them, they attain the stage of Brahman. Bhagavan has not given the sadhana, he is given the stages of a sadhaka here. So that was Sloka number 25. Now we'll go to Sloka number 26. Kama-krodha viyuktanam yatinam yata-chetasam abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate viditātmanam. Kama-krodha viyuktanam yatinam yata-chetasam abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate viditātmanam. So in this sloka, Bhagavan continues on the same subject. What is that subject? Jñāna Phalam. And here again, once again, if you look at all the three slokas, Brahma Nirvāṇam is repeating. Basically, Bhagavan says he attains moksha in all three slokas. And in this sloka in particular, Bhagavan describes the final stage of Jnana Nishtha. What is the final stage of a Jnana Nishtha? What does Bhagavan say here? Basically, Bhagavan says here is that such people, these Jñānīs, they become Brahman both before and after death. That is what is being called out by Bhagavan here. And if you remember in the sloka where we discussed Vairagya, we discussed Vairagya in 21, 22, 23, those three slokas. And in sloka 23 we talked about Shaknoti he aiva sodum praksharira vimokshanat kama krodod bhavam vegam sayuktassa sukhi naraha. We talked about this kama krodha, and that impulse of kama krodha has to be reduced, has to be controlled. One who is able to control the push and pull and the pressure that is that comes in the mind because of attachment and anger. We talked about that. And there we said Bhagavan is asking us to control it, not remove it. And we also discussed, and during that class we said Bhagavan will say later on when and how it can be removed. Here Bhagavan clearly says, in this sloka he says, in the final stage of Jnana Nishtha, a Jnānī completely removes Kama and Krodha. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam. A Jnānī, basically those who are free from desire and anger. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam, those who are free from desire and anger. Who are they? Yatinam. Yati means sannyasi. Here it means, Yati means one who has been able to put sustained effort in something. They have never give up. They will keep putting their effort in it. It's called as a Yati. So, with sustained effort, this person has been able to remove Kama and Krodha. What can we infer from this? Without deliberate effort, we will not be able to remove anger and desire. Anger and desire will not go away on their own. We cannot say, I get angry, but I am not going to do anything about it. It will go of its own. It won't happen. Same thing with desire. Oh, as I grow older, my desires will change, or my desires will die down, and therefore it will automatically go away. It doesn't happen. Without deliberate effort, without putting a sustained effort, without putting considerable effort, we will not be able to remove desire and anger. So Yatinam is the person who strives diligently. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam Yatinam Yati Chetasam. Yati Chetasam means here Chetasam refers to this mind. So yati chetasam means whose minds are disciplined, well restrained. So yati chetasam means whose mind is under their control. They are fully disciplined. Yati chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Viditatmanam means those who have known the Atman. Vidita kila shastra sudha jalade. Viditatmanam. Those who have known the Atman, those who have gained this jnana. In other words, these are the Jñānīs. Who are these Jñānīs? The one who were referred to as Rishayaha in the previous Sloka, the same person. Viditatmana, basically Jñānīs. So one who has attained jnana. So one who has not attained jnana, how can they attain jnana? Only after completely removing kama krodha. And not only that, they are yatis. They put sincere effort in whatever they do. And not only that, they have yati chetasam. They have completely restrained, disciplined their mind. And what do they have? Brahma nirvanam vartate. Vartate means exists. It is present. Brahma nirvana means oneness with Brahman. So it exists, it present means what? These Jñānīs have this wealth of Brahman within themselves. So even when they are living, even in this life, in this body, they know that they are Brahman and therefore they live in moksha even now. And when do they have it? Abhito, abhitaha. Abhitaha means here and hereafter. Abhitaha. Here and hereafter. Which means what? Before death and after death. So they are mukta purusha even by living, and they remain mukta even after the fall of the body. So they are both, they have Jivan Mukti and they will get Videha Mukti. So they enjoy moksha both before and after death, or both here and hereafter. So this is the essence of this sloka. So between sloka 24 to 26, what has Bhagavān done? Bhagavān basically completes the topic of Jñāna Phalam. Bhagavān gave the benefit of jnana, basically Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti, Bhagavān gave it as Antasukhaha, Antarārāmaha, Antarjyotihi, and then Bhagavān also gave here Brahma Nirvānam, Abhitaha, and he said also previously, previous slokam also, Brahma Nirvānam, Labante Brahma Nirvānam, Sayogi Brahma Nirvānam, Abhito Brahma Nirvānam. So this completes the topic of Jñāna Phalam in this chapter. In fact, with this sloka, the 5th chapter is itself complete. With this 26 slokas, the 5th chapter is complete. This Sannyasa Yoga, this chapter, the main thing Bhagavān wanted to teach was Jnana Yoga, explaining Jnana and its Phalam, benefit of Jnana basically. Bhagavān also talked about Karma Yoga and Vairagya in this chapter. Beautiful slokas on Karma Yoga, 3 of those slokas, and 3 slokas on Vairagya also. And then initially we also saw about what is Sannyasa and how is it different from Karma Yoga. And when we started this chapter, we talked about the different types of sannyasa and others. So with this, technically we can say Om Tat Sat. But Bhagavān has 3 more slokas in this chapter, 27, 28 and 29. Now these slokas are actually a preface to the next chapter, Dhyana Yoga. So these 3 slokas are technically part of dhyana, but Bhagavān gives a kind of introduction to the dhyana in this chapter itself. So how do we actually connect these 3 slokas with this chapter? So our Bhashyakartas have said that perhaps after hearing up to this point, whatever Bhagavān said, Arjuna had remained silent, just looking at Bhagavān. He didn't ask a question, but perhaps Bhagavān could have thought, like Arjuna could have this doubt. Like, Bhagavān, you are talking about removing kama krodha. You are talking about yatinam yatachetasam, controlling the mind, sense organs and all those things. Is that really easy? I should know the sadhana to perform that, to do that. I should also know, you are talking about, in the previous sloka, Bhagavān talked about yatatmanaha, the final stage of nididhyasana. How do I attain that stage of nididhyasana? What should I do to reach that stage? So perhaps Arjuna had this doubt. Bhagavān had probably understood without a word being spoken. So feeling this unspoken doubt, Bhagavān begins to introduce this topic of sadhana, this dhyana, sadhana of dhyana in the coming verses. So these 3 slokas are more like appetizer slokas. They are meant to awaken our interest and prepare us to listen to the next chapter, which is called as Dhyana Yoga, with full attention. Meditation is a very misunderstood topic. So next topic hopefully will clarify a lot of those misunderstandings. Dhyana itself is a mystic word. And there are still, in today, there are a lot of different reasons given to do dhyana. We will see about that later. Before we start the chapter 6, we'll do a kind of introductory discussions around what is dhyana, what is it meant for. We'll do a lot of vichara before we get into the first sloka. But in these 3 slokas, Bhagavān is going to give some conditions for dhyana. He will also mention its benefits. And when we are going through these slokas, we will not go through them in detail. We will just see the word by word meaning of it and the essence of it. In the next chapter, we will analyze all these concepts deeply. Okay, so I think I'll take the next these 3 slokas in the next class. Are there any doubts so far in this, or do we want to discuss the point that Ashish ji had asked in the group the other day? Are there any questions? Okay, we'll just take up that question that Ashish ji had posted in the group. Basically, this was a quote from one of the Sringeri Acharyas. He had said, basically he said, when the mind is silent, he said, when the mind is silent, Hold on a second. Trying to figure out where it is. Okay.
When the mind is silent, where indeed is the world? Where is one so-called body or senses or world or even Ishvara? To the advanced spiritual aspirant, in fact, the waking state may appear more unreal than the dream state. For in the former state, the object perceived change even while they are being perceived.
Yeah. So first is when the mind is silent, where indeed is the world? Okay. When the mind is silent means when we are in deep sleep, there is no so-called body, there are no senses, there is no world, there is no Ishvara even. Okay, that's when the mind is silent. So Shankaracharya, he says, to the advanced spiritual aspirant, for that person even the waking state may appear more unreal than the dream state. For us, we look at the dream state as waking state as very real. But what he says here is, for an advanced spiritual aspirant, even the waking stage, in fact the waking stage will be more unreal than the dream state, because objects that are being perceived, they change even while they are being perceived. That is the point. And Ashish's question is, what is change even when perceived mean? Okay, that was his question. First of all, dream state and waking state. Now, in Advaita philosophy, we analyze both dream state and waking state, and we dismiss both of them. We dismiss both of them as mithya. Dream state is easy for us to understand. To say that it is unreal, it is easy, because I wake up, it is not there anymore, and therefore it is unreal. So for everybody to understand that dream state is unreal is very easy. Whereas for the waking stage, because the difference is, in the dream state we call it as pratibhasika satyam, which is a private truth for one individual. Whereas in waking state we say it's vyavaharika satyam, where this truth is shared by so many people. And therefore we say that this is truth. What I see is also what you see, and therefore it has to be real. And we also say that this waking state, it follows an order. There is an Ishvara's order given. There is a set of laws of creation. There is dharma. There are so many laws that are in force here. And it seems to have some continuity across time. Okay, so this waking state seems to be real. But Shastras, I have discussed this in one of the classes earlier, but we will take it in another class in terms of why waking state and dream state are not any different. We will discuss that later. But here the point that we have to discuss here is, what does change even when perceived mean? See, normally I am looking at the waking state, I am seeing one fixed object. It looks as if it's real. But what we don't realize, or what only a spiritual seeker can realize, is that in reality, during the very act of seeing that object, the object is undergoing change. It's like moving water. The water flowing, the river seems to be the river seems to be there always, but the water that we see in that point, at that point of time, has moved. Similarly, here what happens is, our senses are shifting, our minds are changing, the way the mind interprets is changing. Objects are getting older or they decay. So even when I am looking at them, there is change happening. That understanding is given more importance by a proper spiritual seeker than by us normal seekers. The perception, what we see, it is something in flux. even in the moment of experience, it seems to be undergoing some change. And according to in Vedantic terms, what we say is, anything that is truly real, if it is real, it cannot be changing. It should be nirvikara. If it is changing, it has got a beginning and an end, and therefore it cannot be real. So what I see at this point of time is reality now. The mind that I see of another person today may not be the mind that I see of that same person tomorrow. So what I see today is not real. Real is something that I can hold myself to it. I cannot hold this forever. Same thing with our minds also. So it is true with everything that is around in this world. It's constantly changing, even as it is being experienced. So the question of this being real should be seriously considered. So, and that is what the spiritual seeker does. Is a deep spiritual seeker or an advanced spiritual aspirant, he will question that. And he will understand that even when I am perceiving these things are changing. The shape is changing, the light intensity is changing, things are moving, there is instability there is impermanence here, and therefore it is mithya, and therefore it is not absolute. So it is easy for an advanced spiritual aspirant to negate the waking stage easily through this analysis. That is what it means in this quote. Are there any other questions or comments, or we can close this call? Okay. If not, we will see again in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.